When your dog sighs heavily before sleeping, do you actually know what is happening in their brain? Most people think they're just being tired, but behind that simple action, there's something nobody tells you. It's one of the most emotionally loaded things this animal can do, and if you misread it, which most owners accidentally do, you might miss what they're really communicating. Let's start with what that sigh really means. You've seen it 1,000 times. You're settling onto the couch for the night, your dog circles their bed 2 or 3 times, drops down, rests their chin on their paws, and lets out a long, dramatic, vibrating sigh. You probably thought they were just exhausted from a long day of napping, or maybe a little bored, but here's what's actually happening inside their brain. A dog's sigh isn't a sign of physical fatigue, it is an emotional punctuation mark. It is the physiological equivalent of a human saying, "Finally." When a dog sighs as they lie down, they are actively shifting their internal state from active engagement to complete surrender. They aren't sighing because they are relaxed, they are sighing to relax. Think about that for a second. This isn't an involuntary reflex like a hiccup. It is a biological tool they use to turn off their high alert senses. To them, you're not just a roommate, you are the manager of their environment, and that sigh is their way of acknowledging that the environment is secure. And by the way, if your dog ever sighs heavily while staring right at you with their eyes wide open, don't brush it off. We'll get to what that really means at the end, and it's something that will change how you see them forever. 2. The science, the vagus nerve reset. So what is happening under the hood when you hear that deep exhale? Have you ever noticed how your dog's breathing completely changes after that sigh? You probably thought it was just the transition into sleep, but here's what's actually happening. Animal ethologists and veterinary neurologists point to the parasympathetic nervous system. When a dog takes a deep breath in and pushes a long, controlled sigh out, they are stimulating their vagus nerve. This nerve connects the brain to the heart and the digestive system. By forcing that sigh, your dog is deliberately slowing their own heart rate. They are dumping cortisol, the stress hormone, out of their bloodstream. And here's where the science gets even more fascinating. Humans do the exact same physiological sigh to relieve acute anxiety. When your dog does it, they are literally self-soothing. They are choosing to lower their defenses. Think about that for a second. Your dog possesses the neurological hardware to regulate their own emotional state. They aren't just reacting blindly to the world. They have a built-in off switch, and they know exactly how to use it. Let's look at where this happens. You're sitting nearby, maybe watching TV or reading. Your dog curls up at your feet or on the cushion next to you, and then comes the sigh. You probably thought they were just getting comfortable, but here's what's actually happening. In the canine world, making a loud, audible sound that signals a drop in awareness is incredibly vulnerable. A dog will not sigh deeply in an environment where they feel unsure, and they rarely do it around strangers. That sigh is a social signal specifically meant for you. By sighing in your presence, your dog is actively saying, "I am transferring the responsibility of our safety to you." They are trusting you to stand guard while they power down. Think about that for a second. To them, you're not an owner, you're the leader of the pack. When they sigh, they are telling you that they feel entirely protected by your presence. It is one of the purest compliments a dog can give a human. And hey, if this is changing how you see your pet or animals in general, hit like and subscribe. It helps us reach more animal lovers who deserve to know what's really going on in those minds. To truly understand this, we have to look back at the ancestors. You see your dog sighing on a plush orthopedic bed. You probably thought it was just a quirk of modern spoiled pets, but here's what their ancestors were doing for millions of years. In a wolf pack, survival relies on hypervigilance. The pack operates as a single organism, constantly scanning for prey or predators. They cannot afford to all be asleep and oblivious at the same time. When a hunt is over, or when the pack returns to the den, the tension needs to be broken. The deep sigh is an ancient hardwired acoustic signal. In the wild, when the alpha or a senior pack member lets out a deep sigh and lies down, it ripples through the rest of the group. It is the all-clear signal. It tells the pack that the patrol is over. Think about that for a second. When your dog sighs in your living room, they are echoing an ancient survival mechanism. They are hardwired to communicate their relaxation to the rest of the family unit, ensuring that the entire pack can collectively bring their nervous systems down to baseline. Have you ever let out a heavy sigh after a long day of work, and a few seconds later, your dog sighs too? You probably thought it was just a coincidence, but here's what's actually happening. Dogs have an extraordinary capacity for emotional contagion, what we call empathy. They are constantly monitoring your energy, your breathing rate, and your facial expressions. When you sigh, your dog registers that your energy is shifting. Because they are highly cooperative animals, their brain releases chemicals that prompt them to mirror your state. If you are standing down, they want to stand down with you. Think about that for a second. Your dog isn't just living in your house, they are syncing your nervous system to yours. This reveals an incredibly high level of emotional intelligence and theory of mind. They are participating in a shared emotional experience, matching your frequency so that the two of you remain perfectly in tune. Remember earlier when I mentioned the sigh where your dog stares right at you? This is exactly what I was talking about. Imagine you're sitting at your desk. Your dog walks up to you, sits down, stares directly into your eyes, and lets out a sharp, slightly higher-pitched sigh without breaking eye contact. You probably thought they were just breathing heavily or maybe sleepy, but here's what most owners don't realize. If a dog sighs with their eyes open, especially while looking at you, it means the exact opposite of relaxation. It means disappointment or anticipation. This is the sigh of unmet expectations. It happens when you thought you were going to grab the leash, but you grabbed your keys instead. It happens when you finish your dinner without dropping a single crumb. Think about that for a second. They are expressing a complex emotion, frustration. They had a mental model of the future, a walk, a treat, playtime, and when that future didn't happen, they used a sigh to vent their disappointment. It shows that dogs don't just live purely in the moment. They have expectations, hopes, and opinions about your choices. While most sighs are beautiful communications of trust or mild frustration, you need to know the difference between an emotional sigh and a physical warning. You might hear your dog sighing repeatedly, combined with restless pacing, licking their lips, or an inability to settle down. You probably thought they just couldn't get comfortable, but here's what's actually happening. A sigh that sounds forced, ends in a groan, or happens continuously when the dog is trying to rest can be a sign of chronic pain, arthritis, or gastrointestinal distress. If the sighing changes from a peaceful end-of-day ritual to a constant restless sound, they aren't trying to relax, they are trying to cope. Think about that for a second. Your dog relies entirely on you to interpret their language. Knowing the difference between the deep exhale of surrender and the tense groan of discomfort could save them from suffering in silence. Paying attention changes everything. Trust what you're seeing. When your dog sighs heavily before sleeping, it is never just random air leaving their lungs. It is a window into their ancient past, a tool for their mental health, and a profound statement of absolute trust in you as their protector. The next time your dog settles in next to you and lets out that long, vibrating exhale, listen closely. They are telling you that in a chaotic world, you are their safe place.